Spring ball in Tallahassee getting fired up, and Knowles fans are getting fired up for this football team and what the possibilities are this fall. We talk Florida State football with all of you each and every Wednesday night, 6 Eastern. Get on in here. Drop those comments and questions in the live chat. We will get to them, courtesy, of course, Big Game James Coleman's right here. It is, let me get this right, Sports Den Live Media.
Den Media Group.
Den Media Group. Den Media Group. We're going to drop the link in the chat, everyone, and we want you to follow it to Den Media Group right here on YouTube. It's easy to find and subscribe. All right, Chris Frazier, Spear Addicts. Chris, what's going on?
Been a pretty good week so far, and I'm all over the top of Florida State recruiting right now.
All right, well, we want to hear it. Well, let's start with last weekend in Indianapolis. And hey, every time I jumped on Twitter, I could expect something informative, sometimes informative, always entertaining from James. So, James, tell us about your weekend stay in Indy.
Definitely one of those things. If you cover, you got to get to Indianapolis. You got to be able to check it out. A lot of connections are made, but bigger than that is you get a chance to see young men who, for a minimum of 8 years, normally 4 years high school, 4 years college, some longer than that, have been wanting to be a part of the NFL Combine. So, I mean, being a part of the NFL is the biggest job interview that they'll have up to date. So, it was great. FSU had one guy. I also went to go see Anthony Richardson, as well as a few others. But Anthony Richardson was one of the guys who I really came up there to see due to the relationship that I have with him in his camp. But Jamie Robinson from Florida State had a pretty good showing. Showed strength in some areas, but definitely did very well in the skill portion.
We can talk Jamie, of course, and we will. But of course, Anthony Richardson stepped away from this deal being the most talked about guy in the upcoming draft. It was as impressive, I'm guessing, in person, and even more so than what we saw on TV.
Well, yes, way more impressive in person. And he had been the talk of the draft the entire week. So I got there on Tuesday. I talked to Panthers, Colts, Falcons, Bucks, Tennessee Titans, Ravens. All these GMs all intrigued about Anthony Richardson and what he was. And the talk is, and I get it, but I have to tell people is you have to understand, if you don't like the talk that Anthony Richardson's getting, blame Josh Allen. Because that's literally what they're seeing in the NFL as a copycat league, and nobody wants to be considered missing out. They missed on Josh Allen. You don't want to miss out on the more athletic version of Josh Allen. But when you actually, so they talked about it, but then when Saturday happened, it was just like, oh my goodness, we knew he was going to do well. We didn't know he was going to do that well. And I'm even talking about the throws. I mean, it was just a flick of the wrist. I mean, he had one throw where he dropped back to about the 9-yard line, throws it to about the 28, the opposing 28. And that's just like like when you compare it to CJ Stroud did something similar, or what it looked like. He drops back, has to climb the pocket to gather and throw, crow hop to a throw like baseball players do. Anthony's literally dropped back of his drop, flick the wrist. It was just effortless. Will that translate to the NFL? It's not for me to determine. I don't really know. There's a lot of factors come into that, but I can see why coaches were drooling and salivating over him. So, and he answered a lot of the questions very well in the interviews and at the podium.
Yeah, it's impressive to watch. At the same time, maybe he hit the ceiling of expectations, but again, at the same time, those questions about whether he can lead an offense, make the right decisions on the field, those can't be answered in a practical setting until he steps in a NFL training camp.
Right, and if you go watch him on, I think, the NFL Network with Mooch, Steve Mariucci, you see him on the board. You see kind of what he's kind of thinking about and what he kind of knows, but you won't know. And the craziest part is this kid has had 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years and 2 head coaches. Brian Johnson is offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles right now. The head coach for the Indianapolis Colts was with the Philadelphia Eagles with what they did with, and you saw what they did with Jalen Hurts. So again, this is what, and you're looking at the guys who are going to trade up. They have history, or they have guys who know how to train or coach a guy of that nature. But it's 3 different coaches, 3 different offensive systems. He also had 3 different quarterback coaches during that time period. Very difficult at such a young age to be able to show the progression. And I would say that Florida has really failed at the wide receiver position the last few years. It wasn't like he was throwing to some catch, but we can't say that I know this. When I talked about it on a Florida podcast when FSU played the University of Florida, I said there's 2 things that are going to happen. One I fear will happen, and the other one I hope is, and I'm not going to lie to you, this doesn't sound good because I knew he didn't have a good offensive coordinator. I pray that y'all try to make Anthony throw the ball 45 times. Florida State will blow you out. But if Anthony wakes up and walks on that field and realizes that he's the best athlete on that field, we're going to be in trouble. And that's what he did in the first half. And Florida State adjusted to it. But I think if he could take that confidence of knowing that he's one of the best athletes on the field, and now you have a competent offensive coach, you give him a number 1 wide receiver, I think you'll see a kid, again, like Josh Allen. Josh Allen struggled his first year in the NFL. You got Brian Dable over there. You brought Stefan Diggs. Boom, a whole nother level. Here in Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence struggled under Urban Meyer. You bring in Jim Bob Cooter. You bring in Doug Peterson. You bring in competent coaching. You go get him Christian Kirk. Boom, exponential leap. And who knows what's going to happen with Calvin Ridley now being cleared. It's just your quarterback's only as good as who's calling the plays and who he's throwing to. So we'll see.
Seminole fans, be patient with me. We'll talk Florida State football starting now. But I just wanted to hear, I was there all weekend. Anthony Richardson was the guy to talk about. I watched just about everything involving quarterbacks in certain positions. It wasn't like I was picking and choosing positions. I'll watch the offensive lineman work out all day. But the Jamie Robinson, I heard his name a few times. I know that I saw some of his drills. Nothing really stood out. How would you assess his weekend?
I think he did a good job of solidifying where he was going to get picked. A lot of people were wondering if he would come back, and I don't think his draft stock would have increased if he would have come back for another year. I think he's a second-day guy, more of a third-round pick. If a team falls in love with him, maybe he could jump into the later parts of the second round. But what you saw was he had adequate speed. He ran a 4.59 in the 40. Maybe if he can go to pro day, get that 4.5 under to like a 4.49, I think maybe people will be more impressed with his speed. But the things that he did very well, his vertical is good enough. His 10-yard split, 158, good enough. 23 reps on the bench press, and a really, really good broad jump. Those are the things that I think people wanted to see: is how explosive is he? How is his lateral movement? And can he accelerate? Those are the things that you look from a safety. And what he looked at like in the drills, he looked more fluid. At Florida State, he was able to play nickel corner at times, but where he really excelled wasn't being a ball hawk, even though he did cause turnovers and things like that, was how stout he was in the run game. He was one of our top tacklers. He's weighing in at right at 191 pounds. The guy can flat out ball. He could be a consistent piece in the defense. I like Jamie Robinson. I think he's just a solid overall player.
James, in future years, you're not going to be able to kick back and take so many selfies and all of that. You're going to have like a dozen Florida State players to have to track.
Well, I told Chris and I told numerous people, I said next year we got to I'm bringing a team. It's just too many. I estimate that Florida State will have a minimum of 9 guys at next year's NFL Combine. The cool thing is that I'll be able to space. I'll just be there for longer. I know we'll have a running back. I know we'll have a wide receiver, at least one wide receiver. We'll have a lineman. We'll have a quarterback and a defensive end. But that day will be tough because D ends and D tackles go on the same day. But luckily, it'll be spaced out and I'll be there for one guy. But my relationships from what I used to do with the gym go deeper than just Florida State. But I've I will have a full content type game plan. It's just gonna be, but it's so much fun because for those who don't know, you got to work from 8 to about 2, unless you go see on field. Then you'll be going from 8 to 5. Then you got to go take a nap because the real business happens from about 9 to 5. And I ain't talking about 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'm talking about 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. That's when you get a chance. It's the coolest thing about if you're a pro guy is you'll never see NFL coaches interact with you in this manner. They're all there to network. I saw, you'll see Jerry Jones, Sean Payton got a chance. Me and him haven't seen him since, they asked for my playbook and my room key back in early '07. But it was cool to see those guys.
Very cool. Florida State fans, we appreciate you being here. Leave those comments and questions. Support the channel. Do all those good things you know to do. Hit the like button. Get on over to Sports Den Media.
Den
Media Group. I got to write that down. I usually write everything down, but I thought I had it, but I screwed it up. But I will write that down next week for sure. Den Media Group. We're going to drop the link in the chat so everybody can follow. We appreciate Chris being here from Spear Addicts to help us out tonight. Chris, what's going on?
I'm just getting excited for what Florida State seems to be doing in the 2024 class. It seems like they're starting to do a really good job at picking up heat on the trail as far as who they're going after, who they're trying to keep verbally committed to Florida State, and who they're trying to continue to make sure they feel welcome coming and that we want them here extremely bad. I don't want to make it sound like we're desperate because we're not, but key ones that I like pointing out, especially at this time, is JoJo Trader, who's recruiting him with Dugans. He's shown us last year that he can recruit at a high level with landing Hakeem Williams. I think he has to do the same thing here with JoJo Trader. JoJo's also taking visits to Miami. He's also taking visits to Georgia. I think he's also got one plan to go to Tennessee, stuff to that nature. But he's been to Florida State quite a few times. Plans on coming back for an official visit as well, and also an unofficial during the spring, which will probably be on April 15th when the spring game happens. We have quite a few coming that weekend, but this particular weekend we've got a lot of big names coming that Florida State's doing a good job on. Just to get them here is one thing. What Florida State in near past has been having issues with is closing on these recruits. Hakeem, aside from him, we lost Falk late to Auburn last year. That was one that I kind of felt like we shouldn't have lost. You shouldn't have lost momentum in that recruiting process, but we did. He ended up going to Auburn. Regardless of the reason, I think it's the coach's job and the facilities to prove that you can't live without what we offer. And I think Florida State's figured that out. I think the coaching staff has done a much better job this year, each and every one of them, at showing what it is to become a Florida State Seminole and what the expectations are and how much competition it is. And the biggest challenge to it is the challenge you have with yourself, not the challenge that you have against competition, but your biggest competition is yourself. If you can get yourself out of your own way, you can become extremely successful at Florida State. And I am fully taking Coach Norvell's words when I'm saying what I just said. That's not from me. Norvell said that to a couple of guys that came in on junior day, the second junior day we had, and it really resonated with a lot of them. So JoJo Trader being one, Jonathan Daniels is offensive tackle being the other, Charles Lesser the third, which is heard almost every day in Florida State media. Pat Surtain is going to do a great job, I think, there. It's just about building that relationship because he's the new DB's coach. They got to get more around this. They've got to get an actual relationship built so it can take place. And I think that he will. I think Pat Surtain's doing a perfectly good job starting where he's at, but I think he'll continue to heat up. And then Dylan Stevenson, which is an edge. Papuchis, I can't say enough about what he's done with developing the edge players that came here. I know he's telling the edge recruits the same thing of where we put edge players at, and that's in the NFL. He has multiple factors to be able to prove from that. So I think that Florida State's doing a really good job in the 2024 class. I do want to give 3 quick players that I think Florida State fans should be on the watch out for in recruiting that we're trying to flip, and we have a good shot at doing so. One being wide receiver Jeremiah Smith, who is currently verbally committed to Ohio State, and then tight end Landon Thomas, that's verbally committed to Georgia, and defensive lineman Omar White, who is verbally committed to Colorado right now. Florida State is doing a phenomenal job on all 3 of them, so keep your eyes out for what Florida State's trying to do with those 3.
All right. As we turn our attention to spring practice, who are the notable guys that are either not able to participate or for precautionary reasons they're holding out?
You got Robert Scott, Micah. What's Micah's? Just
Pittman.
had a brain fart. Michael Pittman, Malcolm Ray. Trying to think. There's 2 others. Aaron Hester, yeah, and there's another lineman, I believe. But yeah, I mean, you would like Robert and Micah to kind of come in, but Robert played as a tough SOB, played through a lot of injuries. And what better time to heal? You kind of already know what he's going to do. It's going to already be super competitive in the offensive line room with the pieces they added. I don't think that really messes up everything. He'll be there in the summer, and they'll have a great fall camp. Now, I do think Hester and Ray probably could use a little bit more, but that comes from where you're starting to add depth and you're starting to become a better overall team. Those guys know how to do it. They've been here. Well, Hester, this will be his second spring. Malcolm Ray's been here for some time, but it's not optimal. But that's if Florida State is to get back to where they were at, they have to become a pro football factory again. And unfortunately, this is how stars get made at Florida State. So by taking advantage of when other guys are down. So and guys get a chance to show their grit and their worth by not being discouraged by being injured.
And I got to think that coaches are a lot more cautious and lean in that direction a lot more than they did during your career.
Oh, without a doubt. You get hurt. You're hurt. You're hurt. I got hurt my sophomore year going into my junior year. I had torn labrum. We actually knew I was going to have the surgery about the middle of the season. Funny story, February 13th, which was a Friday. So when I went in there, I had the surgery, not the most optimal. Didn't get a chance to have a good Valentine's Day the next day either because I was pretty drugged up. But you go in, you're learning valuable reps, you're getting stronger, and you just have to really grind and you have to compete. And the cool thing is it's probably some of the best shape that you'll be in. Because a lot of people think you're injured and you're just over there hanging out. Nah, you are literally working out for an extra 24 periods. So about 2.5 hours. Everybody, like in practice, you may do a rep, but you'll sit and you'll wait a few minutes before you have to go do another rep. Now you are literally working like each period is 5 minutes. You are working for 5 minutes. Then when that horn blows, you may get a quick sip, but then you're working again for 5 minutes. So I think I was actually the best I ever looked was coming off of that shoulder injury. And then I came out and did what I needed to do to make sure I didn't lose my starting spot there in the fall.
How much of your football career do you feel in your body on a regular basis?
I feel my shoulder when it rains or it's cold. I broke my hand, so I feel that quite often. I don't really have as good of a grip. My jaw, my neck is. I'm in a degree of pain every day. It's just tolerance. It's quite stupid when you think about it. They're going to run full speed into another human with plastic padding on. But at the same time, I'm grateful for it. It's probably blessed me with more opportunities than a lot. But I'm probably going to, if in the beginning of this time on my scroll, the God said I was going to live to be 95, I'm probably going to 85 at this point. But I'm cool with that.
Chris, as we get deeper into spring practice, your thoughts about this team, as you look on both sides of the football, what do you think is important? Where do you think the priorities are? What do you want to see cleaned up? Not that we're going to know that, but what areas do you think are getting more attention than others?
I would definitely, before I jump straight into that, the other player that James was missing that was going to be out for the entirety of spring was Kevin Knowles. And then we had, I just had it a second ago, and who's going to be like very limited in spring is defensive tackle transfer Braden Fisk. Defensive end Jaden Jones will also be limited in the spring. So that was the other defensive end or interior that you were talking about. But to be completely honest, I want to see wide receivers clean up drop balls. I think we did much better last year than we did the year before, obviously with bringing in who we did. But I still think Johnny Wilson, working on his craft, really needs to work on making easy catches catchable, because he makes hard ones look very easy and easy ones look very hard. So I would like to see the wide receiver group really work on fundamentals as far as getting that cleaned up. They run clean routes. There's not a lot to gripe about as far as the wide receiver group goes. If I was to say on the other side of the ball, what I would like to see worked on the most would be the interior defensive line. When Fabian Lovett's not in, that we still get pressure on the quarterback, and also run stopping, because when Fabo was out, we allowed, I think it was 640 some odd yards more than when he was in. So it was a huge drop off when Fabian Lovett was out due to injury versus what it was, say, even a year ago. Because Coop did okay, but I want to see like the Malcolm Ray, who unfortunately can't compete, but there's some guys that are in there like Toa Fossey. There's some other guys that could step up. Jackson could step up. I want to see someone, it not to be such a huge fall off for us to get pressure on a quarterback and also run stop if Fabian for some reason needs to be out, even if it's for a breather. And then the other thing that everybody keeps asking me as far as my show goes is who do I think is going to be the actual backup quarterback. It's only been 2 days of spring practice, but I think it stays the same. I think it's Jordan Travis. Then you go to Tate Rodemaker, and then it's AJ Duffy, and then you have the newcomer that just came in, Brock Glenn. So I think it stays the same. I don't think much changes. They've done a lot during the tour of duty as far as cleaning these things up. So it's hard for me to say that that's what they still need to clean up, because I think they worked very well with Johnny Wilson on his hands. I just want to see that turn over into the football field.
Okay, folks, you need to look good, and we're going to help you with that. We've got a new line of merch that we'd like to let you guys know about. So there's a lot of good stuff there. Just go to thevoiceofcollegefootball.com. It's easy to find. You just go to the top of the page, and I will drop the link in the chat. Check it all out. And I'm not promising anything, but we hope at one point very soon that we will be able to be team specific. So we'll get the Florida State colors. We'll put Florida State on with the Voice of College Football and do it upright for you Nole fans. So check it out. Voice of College Football. We'll leave the link in the chat. All right. What have we not covered? We got the combine. We got spring practice. We got recruiting.
I mean, the other thing, too, about spring ball, like we talked about the guys who aren't going to be there, but we got to talk about the guys who are there. And there was some very impressive guys. I'm going to go with guys who just look good in shorts, which is part of it. Like, if you don't look good in shorts, the odds are very, very high you're not going to look good in pads. But you still got to be able to do it when the pads are there. I think he's going to redshirt still, but Kirkland from Jacksonville, the safety, looked at him. I was like, man, we were trying to figure out who is this guy? Which transfer is this? But he's looks very good at the safety position back there. What's Boots' real name? Can't always
Lamont Green.
Boots. Lamont Green, yeah. Lamont Green Jr. Like he had 2 sacks if I remember correctly in the first practice. Really, really good bend, really low. I'm able to be able to accelerate out of his blocks. Charlton, Kenya Charlton. I want to just say this, like we have a rival that has a really, really fat D lineman, and his body hasn't changed very much since he's been in college. Kenya Charlton has lost an entire person since he's been there. When I saw him, and what was crazy is the progression. So I've gone to the day 1 spring practice for the last, I think this is year 7. Kenya Charlton had the worst day 1 practice last year. Like he didn't finish. It looked bad. It almost looked like they were waterboarding that young man. But when I saw him practice 14 right before the spring game, he was running around doing all the drills, looked completely different. Fast forward to Monday, body looks like he's toned, in shape, looking great. Kudos to him adding to that. Now, for your fans, if they need somebody to go look at, I put it on my Twitter. There's a notable guy in there writing the children's book, but he also was the founder of the Crips out in LA. His name by the name of Tukey Williams. Tukey Williams was a bodybuilder. There's this picture. He just looks really, really jacked. And that's what Keandre Jones reminded me of. He reminded me of a guy who's probably doing a hard time right now, just massive. And he's so massive that he makes the other lineman that came from Colorado, who's also massive, not look quite as massive. So while we're losing Dylan Givens and we losing some guys in the interior, this makes you feel a little bit better to be able to have those guys. And then when you have Sapp possibly competing with Maurice Smith, it just makes you feel better about the interior of the line. And if the outside parts, obviously we know what Robert Scott can do, but if we have these outside guys doing good and competing, I think you'll see the level of play increase. But my favorite transfer, and I'm going to call him the X factor. He just he's standing on business. Jaheim Bell. And I had somebody troll me saying, I guess, he didn't have, they didn't use him very well in South Carolina last year. But I will say this. I've seen it enough times. That seam route with the tight end, or where you kind of have it break a little bit into a post, to a skinny post. We've had guys catch that. Cam McDonald catches that, maybe gets 2 more yards, get tackled. Marquise Douglas, big body, same thing. This guy catch this in stride. That's house. Like the whole stadium standing up, putting their hands in the air. He's just a guy that you're going to is going to occupy the safety. So if the safety has to be honest and knows there's somebody there that he's got to keep his eye on, well, what does that do? That means that they either have to take another corner and they got to double team Johnny Taylor, or you bracket in there, which means that Micah, which means that Ja'Kai Douglas, which means that a lot of these other guys are now in single coverage or in situations where you can't pay attention to them as much, which leaves big openings and gaps, which makes your offense become way more wide open. Add that to, having Trey Benson have to, that's a large man that moves very, very quick. I think the offense, Mike did a good job of finding pieces that can add something to this offense immediately. And I also like Keziah Holmes because I'm a big Trayshawn Ward fan. But after what I saw the first day, and I'm gonna go look again when they go in full pads, that'll be the next time I go. But after seeing Keziah, I'm not as sad about losing Trey. I'm still sad because Trayshawn was not just a good football player; he's a good person. But I like what I saw with Keziah Holmes.
I'm going to make a pretty simplistic statement, James, that you can respond to, and you can enlighten me here, because I'm not a guy that knows much about strength and conditioning, but I'm in the gym almost every day of my life. I just copy off of various sites and so forth and pick up knowledge here and there and just do my thing. Okay, but I don't really know what I'm doing. Okay, I'm amazed at how many top level football brands like Florida State get into a bad position like this program did, in terms of strength and conditioning, because we know that that's at the core of what this sport is all about, strength and conditioning. You need a great strength and conditioning program. And it amazes me how many programs get into a bad spot. And I would think if you were a head football coach, even if you don't know what you're doing otherwise, that you would go out there and get the best strength and conditioning coach that you could possibly get. And for you to make the statement that you've made the last few years to say, man, we did not look like a top level football program a few years ago. Well, this year we looked a lot better. This year we looked a lot better. And this year we looked a lot better. That it was obviously in pretty poor shape a few years ago. I just don't understand how it gets like that at a place like Florida State.
Well, it's easy. It's all about buy-in. And, unfortunately, buy-in, you have to, it's individually based. And that has to be echoed by the head coach. The head coach has to make everybody realize that the strength and conditioning coach is a real coach. Is not an option. And then on top of that is you have to believe that the strength and conditioning coach is going to develop you and put you in the best positions so that you can achieve success on the football field. And that's what Josh Storms does a really, really good job with. Now, he got put in a bad position because we had COVID. So now you have to learn guys, you have to mail equipment, you have to supplement, you have to see what they got. But I don't want to just brag on him. I want to brag on Lanier Coleman. He's got a very good strength and conditioning staff that looked the part and have all played. So that's the other side. A lot of these guys are pencil necks that have never played the game before. So like Lanier can tell you, I know what it's like to squat 400 or 500 pounds and then go out and do a full pad practice. Suck it up. You start to buy into those guys and you believe in them.
Hey, folks, appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football every Wednesday to check out our Florida State discussion. We got James Coleman on the line, of course, and we have left his link to his new channel in the chat. I will do it again because we know that you are lazy, and so you need all the push in that right direction. So it's Den Media Group, and we've left the link in the chat. Get over there and get James and company to 2,000 subs, because there's incentive to doing that, right, James?
Once we get to 2,000 subs, all you have to do is pay attention Monday, Wednesday, or Friday to Big Games BS, and we will literally give $200. And if we get to 3,000, we'll give away $300, all the way up until within reason. Like if we get to 1 million subs, I'm not giving somebody $100,000. What we will do is potentially give you we'll maybe give 10 people 10,000 or something like that. But
so if I got this straight, once you get to 2,000, then everybody who's a sub is eligible for a $200 prize.
Yep.
Yeah.
So but you gotta listen that day, because we're gonna tell you put your Cash Apps in the comments. So you put your Cash Apps in the comments. We'll take the Cash App. We'll put it in a randomizer. Boom, boom, boom. Last 5 minutes of the show, we will literally put the randomizer on the screen so you can see, and they'll go to the Wheel of Fortune little thing, and then they'll say such and such name, and then we'll do that. We've done that with tickets. We'll do more and more of those different types of things. So we've used it before. We do giveaways, but we'll probably do more of the giveaways for our members. Right now we're at 12 of those. We get to 30. We'll start adding some more things with that. But really it's just trying to grow the channel and trying to spread the wealth that we've been blessed to have on our channel through sponsors. But, we got to get people active, though.
What's going on, Chris, at Spear Addicts?
Right now, we had a really good production meeting today with who will eventually be announcing that we're going onto their network. It finally happened today. We're supposed to have contracts and stuff tomorrow. So I'm excited about dropping that news once I officially put ink to paper. I know James is also excited. Other than that, I'm giving away a Mike Norvell signed mini gold chrome helmet to one of the subscribers to the channel. All you have to do is be subscribed to the channel. The members get entered in multiple times. If you're a subscriber, you get entered in once, but it still goes on a randomizer, very similar to what James just announced. I've been sending these football patch cards out to subscribers. I've got 2,754 subscribers. I have sent 2,754 cards out. So I've been busy as far as sending. I've actually sent more cards than that. I've just sent that amount of people cards just as gifts for becoming subscribers to the channel. We've got Mike Alford, the athletic director of Florida State, coming on March 16th for everyone, March 15th for the members. I'm setting that right at 100 members right now. So the 100 members will get to see it first on the 15th, and then the video will be dropped for everybody on the 16th.
You two are too good to your subscribers playing Oprah. They're going to be looking at me going, Mark, what are you doing for us? We sub and all you do is get on here and talk constantly. But that's really good stuff.
You got better content, Mark. So I'm gonna leave it like that.
We do our best. That's all I'll respond there. I appreciate it. One of the reasons we've got great content is I've told people many times that I don't necessarily have the talent, but I know how to spot the talent. So we know how to get the right people on here. So we got Chris, we got James, and appreciate all that they do. And these two, along with Logan Robinson, Jason Parker, make this show go each and every week. We've done it 202 consecutive weeks without fail. So that's a testament to these guys and the other two as well. All right, folks. Anything else, James, before we let you go? Chris, anything?
One thing I got 2 kids out at practice today, so I'll probably be getting filled in with some practice reports from today's stuff. But we have John Mitchell, 4-star DB from Mandarin High School, 2024 kid. We've also got TJ. What's TJ's real? Tremel Jones Jr., quarterback, 2025. Really watch out for Tremel. Tremel killed it. There was a 7-on-7 tournament that he played with Domo or DO. I don't know why it's called Domo, but it's DOMX prospects there. 7-on-7 team almost won it, but out of Houston, he was really shining there. I would say Florida State has impressed them very much so moving into this 2025. For this 2025 prospect, he could potentially be our Luke Cronenhawk for the 25 class. We were supposed to have Jamie French over there, 5-star wide receiver for the 2025 class. He got to go to school, though. You got to be a student athlete. He's been missing too much. So I'm proud of those guys. But, Florida State is going to be making inroads to Jacksonville, Miami, Central Florida. These guys are working. Pat Surtain has been doing a really, really good job identifying talent that matches what they want. And I think, I always tell them, I say, I'm not going to beg you to be a Knoll, but, I wouldn't mind if those guys, I wouldn't mind eating some Garden to Gold signing day cake with those guys.
Chris, any parting shots?
Yeah, I will add to a little bit of what James was saying. I want all the fans to continue to watch out for the recruits that are coming to this weekend, also next weekend coming. If I would say who I'm most impressed with coach-wise as far as on the trail right now, it's definitely Pat Surtain. He is absolutely doing a phenomenal job. I don't know if it's because he feels like he's behind, he's double working himself. I don't know what it is. But if this is his normal work ethic, Florida State DB-wise will probably always and forever be known as DBU because he's doing an absolute amazing job. And I will say this. I think if you was to look at a visual on the 2023 Florida State football team, the biggest jump that Florida State's going to have is going to be on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to look better on the defense from last year to this year than we do on offense. I think offense is going to look fine. I think they're going to be extremely efficient at what they do. but I think the defense is going to look so much better than what it did the previous year.
You know, something you both said leads me to this question, actually. Do what the fans do on social media, Twitter and otherwise, how much does it impact? And I understand this is a very general question where individuals respond differently, but how much do what they do on social media affect recruits?
I'll put it like this. It's kind of like if you really like somebody, nothing they do can make you mad. And everything they do will make you happy. But if you're kind of borderline and you were thinking, or you like somebody else a little bit more, you're not sure here, somebody can irritate you and push you in another direction. So I like to tell athletes that if you find yourself paying attention to what the fans say, you're going to find yourself becoming a fan a lot faster than you ever wanted to become a fan. Meaning you got to tune out the noise and pick what's best for you. But if, you know, I'll say Alabama, Georgia, Florida State, you know, Maserati, Lamborghini, really high-end souped-up Camaro, 93 petrol, a lot of maintenance, but you got the prestige in these two. Hey, but you really like the Camaro. That's always what you wanted. But man, that engine is a little bit too loud for you. It's going to push you to somewhere else. Like what people got to realize is they're always trying to find what is the main differentiator between everything, and that's where that fans come into. Annoying media comes into place. Like, you got to just be careful because you don't know what is going to be that thing to push. So I always say, just enjoy the kids as they're going through a process as 17 to 19-year-olds. They're making a life decision that's very difficult. This is the first life decision that they've ever made. And just think about how hard your life decisions would be for your children, or when you did it, if you add to it random weirdos that are telling them, I hope you die if you don't choose their school. Or, you know, those are the things that, and yes, the kids revel in it, but they're the pretty girl at prom. They're supposed to do this. So you just got to kind of just play it. I tell fans, enjoy them, because if you're a pro fan, like, you're going to have to root for a rival possibly. So I don't want to like get mad at this kid and then all of a sudden I got to cover him with the Jaguars. Like, just keep it. I'm happy that every kid, I wish them nothing but success as long as their interest doesn't interfere with my interests. But I think people got to be a little bit more cordial, a little bit nicer.
Anything on that front, Chris?
Yeah, I will say that I don't put too much on the fans, because fans come from fanatic. Fans are going to say what they should say. I think that's part of being a fan. That's what makes it fun. For you to say outrageous things, have outrageous, questions, or have outrageous just comments, period. I'm more on the side of local media, certain medias at certain schools. They, I think, have more. I don't think it stops a kid from committing to Florida State, but I don't think it helps if you are fully irritating a young man that's coming out of the Moore Center. I spoke about a couple of people that Florida State's trying to flip. There's also a couple of people that Florida State's trying to land, as far as keep close to their chest. And when media goes beyond that step and they start asking for interviews or pushing interviews or even recording a guy coming in, that doesn't necessarily want the rest of the country, as in the other football teams, to know that after they've already asked and made that request, for them to be asinine and do it anyway. I think that could affect relationships, and I think you have to be professional as media groups, and I think media groups have to do a better job all the way around, not just at Florida State, that's everywhere.
Chris Frazier, Spear Addicts. Get there, check out his work. It's phenomenal. James Coleman, of course, Den Media Group, right here on YouTube. If you subscribe, you're going to be eligible for $200 very soon. So do that. And we've dropped the link in the live chat a few times. James, we appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Chris, you as well. Thanks for filling in tonight.
Yes, sir.
Next week, folks, Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll see you then.